For years, the leading edge of artificial intelligence was a closed ecosystem. It was dominated by a handful of American firms whose most capable models were protected by massive computational moats, ensuring that outside competitors remained a generation behind. This dominance was backed by the assumption that strict U.S. export controls on high-end microchips would act as a permanent ceiling on Chinese development. If the hardware was throttled, the thinking went, the intelligence would eventually stall. That assumption changed on July 16, 2026. Moonshot AI released Kimi K3, a native multimodal model with 2.8 trillion parameters, making it the first open-source system to break into the 3 trillion parameter class. The existence of K3 suggests that architectural innovation has allowed developers to find a path around hardware bottlenecks, maintaining a scaling pace that many in the West thought was impossible under current restrictions. This chart highlights the immediate pressure K3 puts on the market. Most flagship Western models, like Anthropic's Fable 5, charge $15 per million tokens. Kimi K3 has entered the market at just $3. This pricing structure creates a direct challenge for companies that rely on high-margin API calls. When a model of this scale is offered at a fraction of the price, it threatens the revenue streams that Silicon Valley Labs use to fund their next generation of hardware clusters. In response to this shift, U.S. tech advisors have pointed to domestic policies, like data center bans and pre-approval requirements, as evidence that America is tying itself in regulatory knots while its competitors sprint ahead. K3 is more than a technical milestone. It functions as an economic weapon. By slashing the cost of frontier-level intelligence, Moonshot is attempting to rein in market share and force Western labs to compete on price rather than just capability. There is a central engineering mystery here. How does a model with nearly 3 trillion parameters operate cheaply enough to be sold for $3? The solution is a sparse mixture of experts architecture. Instead of one dense processor, K3 uses 896 expert modules. For any task, it routes data to the 16 best-suited experts, ignoring the rest. This delivers massive intelligence while using under 2% of its total compute capacity. This breakthrough is significant because it severs the historical link between a model's total parameter count and the electricity required to generate an answer. Efficiency is only the foundation. K3 was trained with always-on thinking, a mode where the model internally cross-references equations and identifies inconsistencies before it ever shows the user a final result. To handle complex work, K3 uses a context window of 1 million tokens. This allows a user to upload entire corporate codebases or dozens of quarterly reports, keeping the full scope of a massive project in the model's active memory. Because the compute cost is so low, developers can move away from using a single chatbot and instead deploy an agent swarm. In this setup, K3 acts as a central hub, spawning up to 300 distinct subagents that can simultaneously execute thousands of continuous steps. They can profile, rewrite, and verify a codebase in a single autonomous run. These capabilities suggest a shift in how we use AI, moving from a system answering questions to a massive-scale orchestration engine that executes entire workflows independently. The definition of an AI product is changing. The value no longer sits with the underlying model itself, but in the autonomous ecosystems that can be built on top of it. The most significant turning point arrives on July 27, 2026, when Moonshot plans to release the full weights of Kimi K3 to the public. For the first time, a model in the 3 trillion parameter class will be available for anyone to download and run freely on their own infrastructure, without a subscription or a proprietary gatekeeper. This marks a transition from an era where the primary goal was building the smartest model to one where the focus is on who can deploy that intelligence most effectively. By making frontier-level scale accessible to any developer with the hardware to host it, Kimi K3 has removed the cost of entry that once defined the top tier of the AI market. To keep up with how these shifts are changing the tech landscape, make sure to like this video and subscribe for more deep dives into the future of intelligence.